She asked to speak to me confidentially in a very serious tone of voice, told me that Charlie had investigated all possible options to take care of the problem of Danny Markel, including hiring a hitman, which would cost about $15,000. And I later revised that and thought maybe it was $50,000, but the dollar amount was the only thing in question. She definitely said that Charles Adelson had looked into hiring a hitman to kill Danny Markel.
Powerful testimony. That's Wendi Adelson's ex-boyfriend, a man she was seeing after her and Dan split, and was seeing sort of off and on again right around the time of the murder of Dan Markel. Important testimony right there. But what he said was contradicted directly by Wendi Adelson when she testified in the trial. Take a listen.
Did you say that Charlie, your brother, this defendant, had explored all options to resolve the problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost either $15,000 or $50,000?
No.
And did you have a conversation with Jeffrey Lacasse at your residence that night where you said you wanted to share something in confidence with him?
No.
Did you ever say that your brother had seriously hired a hitman where you weren't repeating the joke? You were serious.
Is she lying? Is she committing perjury? Should she be prosecuted for perjury? Let's talk about that right now. We're bringing my guest in Tallahassee, Florida, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Tim Jansen, back with us. Also joining us in Bradenton, Florida, body language and voice stress analysis expert Jerry Crotty. Great to have you both here as we dig into this a little bit. Let me start with you, Jerry, though. In taking a listen there to Wendi Adelson, I know there's a short clip there, but what are your thoughts about how she's saying what she's saying, and is there anything there that kind of, you know, you took note of?
Yeah, so I have a lot of notes actually from her testimony. I don't know anything about this case, honestly, and so when I started watching it, I was really curious if everybody thought she was being deceptive. And so the one thing I can tell you is that the gentleman with the glasses on, I don't know who that is either, he was very congruent when he was speaking. The emotions match, everything matched up like it should. However, when she was speaking, there was absolutely no emotion on her face when she's answering the questions. One of the things, you know, I was a law enforcement officer for over 20 years, and 75–80% of that I was an investigator. And one of the things that myself and my partner always said was, if somebody's looking you in the eyes and you can see the bottom of the white on the bottom of their eyes, that's an instant get ready, because they're about to lie to you. We called it the three whites of the eyes. I have no idea where that name came from, but I really noticed it with her right out of the gate. And so it really made me kind of sit up and pay attention to exactly what she was saying. I ran those answers through the voice stress analyzer, and there was definitely deception in those answers. Wow.
Okay. Let's take a listen to a little more of Wendi Adelson here. Talking about the crime scene, because remember, the morning of the murder, she gets in the car and she's going someplace, and she sort of takes a roundabout way there. Here's what she said about that on the stand.
Did you go to the crime scene or very near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
No, I did not.
So you never turned on Trescott Drive that day?
I went to turn on Trescott Drive, but I saw that it had been blocked off by some tape, and so I just kept driving on Centerville.
Okay, and when you had to turn around at the tape, right, to go back out?
I think I tried to turn right, and it couldn't turn, so I would have made like the kind of turn, like a K-turn, and kept going.
Was there a roadblock there with?
There was tape.
Yeah, and an officer was there?
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle? Okay, did you have any contact with the officer?
No.
Okay. Did you do anything after that to try to find out what was going on down that roadway?
No, I just assumed it was weather, or maybe a tree fell.
I just want to note, I love the prosecutor's style throughout this trial. It was amazing. Now let's take a listen to Officer Bill Brannon from the Tallahassee Police describing the same situation.
From the roadblock where you were positioned, could you see the crime scene?
Yes.
Would it have been obvious to someone approaching your position in a vehicle that there was activity, law enforcement activity going on at that residence?
It seems likely.
Did you know at the time that Wendi Adelson drove this type of vehicle?
Yes.
All right, so you noticed this vehicle or a vehicle identical to this one approach your position?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did the vehicle do when it approached your position?
Just stopped pretty quick and turned around and headed back in the other direction.
All right, Tim Jansen, can you break it down for us? Because everyone thought this was a little strange that Wendi Adelson is testifying at this trial as a state witness. She gets some level of immunity. Can you break down that immunity and why that could make it difficult to actually prosecute her for the murder? And then give me your take on pursuing potential perjury charges here.
Absolutely, Vinny. She was given derivative use immunity, meaning anything she said at the trial could not be used against her, and they couldn't take her words to go out and find evidence that was derivatively used. But she was not protected from perjury. So if she commits perjury, she can be prosecuted. She's testified in 3 trials. What's important in Charlie's trial was that they filed a motion in limine to keep out Lacasse's statement about hiring the hitman. The judge sustained it because it was hearsay. And Wendi had already testified. So when Charlie was going to testify, it was sustained. They had to recall Wendi. Wendi had to deny it. Then they recalled him for impeachment, and then it was admissible. So the problem with the prosecuting Wendi is the lack of evidence and the Castigar issues with the derivative use. But she could be prosecuted with perjury, and it's not unheard of. Remember the Parkland shooting, Scott Peterson, that police officer was charged with perjury. Now, he was found not guilty, but perjury in this case is on a capital offense like this, is a second-degree felony punishable by 30 years. And if she testified in 1 or 2 trials, you could stack those perjury counts. And the car going by the scene, relatively easy to prove with the phone where she was, and Centerville Road and that Trescott is right there. And who's the witness against her? A sworn law enforcement officer who recognized her car. So they may not get her on murder, but they may get her on perjury. You know, Al Capone didn't get convicted of murder. He got convicted of tax evasion.
That's right.
He still went to prison.
That's right. Then you look at O.J. Simpson. He got jammed up for trying to get his memorabilia back. Okay, let's take a listen to more now of Wendi Adelson's testimony. Here talking about this so-called celebration dinner.
After the murder, do you recall going to a dinner where you got sick at the table?
It was about a month later, and yes, I remember.
Where did that dinner occur? Was that here in Tallahassee or somewhere else?
No, it was in Miami.
All right, and was it like out at a restaurant?
It was at a restaurant.
All right, and when we say you got sick at the table, did you actually vomit at the table?
I threw up at the table.
All right, and did you ever hear your brother refer to that particular dinner as a celebratory dinner?
No.
Did you tell Jeffrey Lacasse that your brother called that a celebratory dinner?
I did not.
Was that a...
One moment, Ms. Callen.
Yes, sir.
Objection.
Hearsay.
Overruled.
Was that dinner a celebration of the murder of your ex-husband?
Absolutely not. That dinner was the first time I left my house after over a month because I was terrified. And if it was a celebration of anything, it was a celebration that I was willing to leave the house and eat a meal.
During one of those phone calls, did you learn about a dinner where Wendi had become ill at the table?
Yes, I did learn about that.
And what did you learn about that dinner?
That she went out to dinner with Charlie for what he called a celebration dinner. He said something to her. She spontaneously vomited on the table.
And this would have been within How much time after the homicide?
Within a few weeks.
Was it specified that the celebration was in reference to Dan Markel's death as opposed to anything else?
Wasn't specified.
Okay. But whatever it was, that's the dinner where she vomited.
That's right.
All right, Jerry Crotty, how about Wendi Adelson here?
Okay, so I have a lot of notes on this part right here because it gets kind of right out of the gate. You can clearly see that you can see the bottom of her eyes when she's speaking. Again, that's the three whites of the eye. So I started really paying attention to what she was saying. When she starts out, she's very spontaneous with her answers about asking if she vomited at the restaurant and things like that. But then when she gets to the part to where it really starts to count, she closes her eyes when she answers, and that's indicative of somebody that just doesn't want to see the reaction of the person they're speaking to when they do it. And then again, I analyzed her response about the celebratory dinner, and again, there was stress indicated on that response from her. The attorney asked her if the dinner was a celebration of the murder of your ex-husband. Now, that's a pretty direct accusatory question. There should be some type of emotion displayed during that question. And the answer should be no, and it should be right away. She begins shaking her head no before she's even to the point to where she's asking if it was about murdering the husband. And so she already knew this question was coming. She's anticipating it. And then her answer was just the worst answer you could give, which was absolutely not. You actually hear her voice crack when she's giving it. Again, I analyzed that as well. And again, there's deception indicated on that response as well. And then when she's answering the questions that are the most important, the head nodding begins to kind of fail on her. She's not doing it like she was before. And so when you compare it to when she was answering the questions about, when we know she's being truthful, and when it counts, it changes. So again, it's not congruent. And then the thing I thought that was really interesting was at the very end of her statement, she flashed a micro expression just a little bit, which to me looked like duping delight, which basically means you think you're getting one past somebody. And then she finished it up with pursed lips. And then the best was, she does a lot of contradicting herself when she speaks. Did you drive past the crime scene? No. Did you drive? But I drove up to the road, though, where it was at. So she contradicted herself there. But when they said it's not a celebration, and then at the very end she says, but if it was a celebration, it was the fact that I was going out of the house to get a meal for the first time. So
unbelievable.
So she's having a hard time telling the truth.